Alright guys, so welcome back to another Silo breakdown. We have episode 3 a little bit earlier this week, so we got a nice gift for the holidays here. And of course, we already know that things are starting to heat up, especially since last episode where Judge Meadows said she wanted to go out. So of course, I am looking forward to seeing how that's going to unfold, especially the whole situation with Solo and everything in his silo and all the new information we're going to gain here with episode 3. So anyway, as always, let's get into it. We're back in the abandoned silo and Juliet is on a mission to piece together the puzzle of what happened here. She's questioning the survivor who calls himself Solo, a name that says a lot about his lonely existence. He drops a major bombshell and reveals that there are 50 silos and Juliet is in silo 17. But here's a huge detail I'm going to let you guys in on that some may have missed. Those number 18 markings on the key that Bernard used to open the server room and on the hard drive that Juliet got from Holston, they make it pretty clear that Juliet's silo is number 18. So as we can see, the breadcrumbs here are starting to line up and things are starting to get intense. Solo reveals his backstory and it's heart-wrenching. He was just a teenager during his silo's rebellion and the scars of that time runs deep. Bernard told Meadows the rebellion in Silo 17 happened before she was his shadow, which was 25 years ago. So we know it's been at least that far back. Russell, who we met in episode 1 at the Broken Bridge, was the head of IT here. Solo was Russell's shadow, and he put him in the server room vault when the rebellion began, saving his life. In the book Wool by Hugh Howey, Solo was Shadow's son and was 16 at the time of the rebellion. From the age of the actor who portrays Solo, Steve Zahn, a rebellion more than 25 years ago would still make him a young and inexperienced Shadow at the time of the uprising. So it kind of makes you think, how would a young person develop living isolated for decades? I mean, he probably has at least an unhealthy case of paranoia, so it's probably safe to assume that it's going to be difficult for Juliet to gain his trust. We learned that his silo's inhabitants willingly went outside thinking it was safe, only to meet a deadly end from a mysterious poisonous dust cloud. And the timing of the poisonous dust cloud seems pretty convenient, doesn't it? Either someone is clearly pulling the strings of what's going on outside, or outside is really not safe in general. But it wouldn't be that crazy to believe that someone is still pulling the strings of what's going on outside, especially after what we saw in season 1 with the fake AR image after Juliet got outside. At this point, Juliet cannot ignore the eerie parallels between Solo's silo, that's a tongue twister, and her own. Silo 17 even had its own cleaner who refused to clean, Ron Tucker. He walked away and the residents, believing they'd been lied to, rose up against IT, sadly to their demise. And it hits Juliet in this moment and she realizes that she has to stop history from repeating itself. Meanwhile, chaos is bubbling over in Silo 18. Teddy gets arrested for his rebellious graffiti, and this sets off a chain reaction. A raider punched the shit out of Teddy's mom, Evelyn, who was merely standing off on the side, Jesus, making everyone even angrier in that moment. Shirley and the mechanical crew aren't about to let Teddy become a scapegoat, but Bernard and Sims, as I've said before, are tightening the noose. Bernard is already cracking down, ordering arrest and finding ways around the surveillance blackout in the lower levels, which we'll get more into here in a minute, but once again, like I've said, it's chaos and everyone is playing a dangerous game. Now let's talk about the Order, this shadowy doctrine that keeps rearing its ugly head. We see how Bernard and Meadows uses it to justify their increasingly brutal tactics, from propaganda to outright manipulation. Meadows cautions Bernard to spread out the arrest among all levels of the silo, so Mechanical won't feel like they're being singled out. She also recommends that he releases Teddy from custody to show mercy. It's all about maintaining control and a balance so people won't become suspicious, but cracks are forming. Even Meadows is starting to question Bernard's motives, and we get hints at a deeper rift between them. When she tells him she doubts his story about Juliet wanting to go out, it's clear their alliance is on shaky ground, and I'm starting to think that things aren't going to progress very well between old friends. One of the most chilling subplots this week, though, comes from Sims. He's using memory erasing drugs to control anyone who knows too much. Sims tells Bernard that everyone who saw what Juliet had broadcast from the hard drive has been put on the medication. This is the beautiful, lush, green illusion from the outside world that Bernard demanded everyone turn away from. What's kind of weird though is I'm not sure how they'd be able to track down everyone who saw it, since it was also broadcasted on the cafeteria screens as well, not just in the IT department. So it seems like the creators are just leaving this to be kind of like an umbrella statement, where it's left under the assumption that they did find everyone and put them on the medication. But it would have been nice for them to explain how they tracked down everyone instead of just leaving it up to our assumptions. Patrick Kennedy's scenes were especially haunting. Clearly tortured, his plea to forget everything, even his own wife, underscores how far these characters are willing to go to escape their pain or stay alive. The moral moral decay here is ridiculous. We learn a couple of interesting plot points though, like the dosage level of the drug determines how far back in time the memory wipe goes, and Patrick will be required to do Sims a favor in order to get the drug and live. Meadows summons Sheriff Billings about Juliet's cleaning. Billings confirms that all the raiders he's interviewed so far have said it was Juliet's decision to go out, but she wants to personally see his full report first. And this is huge because it shows just how much pressure is weighing on the silo's leadership and the building distrust among them. And this part seemed to come out of left field. Billing admits to having the syndrome. This confession puts him in a vulnerable position, and as we already know, no one with the syndrome is allowed to hold a position of power or leadership in the silo. Now, I'm not sure what his motivation is here. Perhaps to demonstrate to Meadows that she can trust him? I mean, with everything unraveling, trust is hard to come by. Now, Meadows' reaction to this is even more interesting. She reveals that she already knew because Sims told her. And instead of condemning him, she goes philosophical, blaming it on the psychological toll of being trapped underground. Even more surprising, she suggests revisiting the pact to stop discriminating against those with the condition. And this is a pretty huge deal because once again it signals cracks forming in the very foundation of silo control, and it continuously becomes more clear that the pillars are weakening. Back with Juliet, she's scavenging for materials to build a new suit since her old one's trashed. Solo leaves her some chicken stew outside the vault, and of course she's starving, so she accepts it. But this interaction goes deeper. Solo starts to open up about his loneliness and the tricks isolation played on his mind. He's not even sure if Juliet is real, but Juliet, being Juliet, focuses on survival. Solo's knowledge of the silo proves invaluable here. She's trying to figure out how to build a new suit, but Solo tells her the materials she needs are submerged underwater. And that's not all. When she explains why she didn't clean, Solo gives her a crash course on what she saw in her helmet. He tells her that those are called birds, and IT has been manipulating people with advanced technology, which of course we already knew. Juliet's realization about the projected image being a lie is just another piece of this puzzle. Solo's job is to never, ever open the vault door, but as they begin to work together, you can slowly feel the walls he's built around him start to crumble. Back in Silo 18, Sims brings in a retired raider and decorated sharpshooter, Reggie Smalls, to secretly act as Judicial's eyes and ears in Mechanical. They've disabled the cameras and Judicial needs to know what they're plotting. It's a strategic move, especially with a rebellion brewing. Back with Billings to complete his report, he interviews one of the raiders about Juliet's arrest, and the responses are sketchy. 4 raiders say Juliet wanted to go out, but the 5th one dodges the question, and this confirms his suspicions about her being set up. Afterwards, Billing returns to Meadows' apartment with the completed report on Juliet's cleaning. He gives her the TLDR, but then adds that Juliet herself insisted to him that she didn't say she wanted to go out, which he hadn't bothered to tell Meadows before. And then Meadows tells him that she'll take it from there. Meadows alone pieces together the truth, and how Juliet's cleaning was a calculated move to get rid of her. She watches old nostalgic videos of the world outside and families on a beach and in the snow, and you can tell it's hitting her pretty hard. She knows she can't trust Bernard, but she also knows that she needs him to get out of the silo. Bernard shows up at Meadows' apartment to discuss her departure plan. Their dynamic hints at a complicated history, but trust between them is eroding fast. He didn't follow any of her suggestions, and as a result, the situation has become dire. Meadows knows Bernard has been playing his own game, and she's not buying his denials anymore. And this is where the chess match between them really starts to heat up. On an evening walk, Dr. Nichols meets Phoebe Wells, who's nervous about her unexpected chance in the birth lottery. Her opportunity is all due to Juliet's failed cleaning and the silo's celebration of her death as a hero. Their conversation is touching, especially when she realizes he's Juliet's father. Later, Dr. Nichols finds out that Phoebe has won the lottery to get her chance to have a baby. Only silo management had secretly deemed her ineligible for children. In a pivotal moment, Dr. Nichols decides to break the rules. And instead of faking the removal of Phoebe's birth control device as ordered, he goes through with the procedure. Another act of defiance and another sign of the silo's control slipping. Now, by the episode's end, tensions in Silo 18 explodes. The rebels, led by Shirley, have come to get Teddy, but things go horribly wrong. The rebels are shouting "Free Teddy" while Knox and the raiders hold the line. It all goes sideways when Patrick, working on the behalf of Sims, throws a Molotov into the mix. Things escalate fast and Reggie opens fire, and Cooper is tragically killed in the chaos, a casualty of a rebellion that's only just beginning. Deputy Hank radios Billings with the report of the incident. He doesn't know who threw the firebomb, but they weren't from Mechanical. Cooper that was killed was an innocent bystander bandit who was just trying to prevent the chaos. Now that all of the sheriff's department knows that there are other agitating forces at work and that Juliet was set up, will they side with the rebels is the question. This is a turning point for Knox, who starts to sympathize with the rebels. Especially after Cooper's death, he seems to be reevaluating everything in light of this senseless loss. His potential shift in allegiance could be a game changer here. He eventually meets with Shirley in the caverns where the last rebellion met to make their plans. Shirley convinces Knox that Juliet might still be alive, and he agrees that he wants to know the truth too. Knox hints at knowing the significance of the wall of names in the cavern from the failed rebellion, and I'm not sure what they could be other than a battle plan. But what do you guys think the names mean? I'd like to know down below in the comments. The characters of Cooper, Teddy, and the graffiti in the Clash at Teddy's jail bust are all inventions for the series, as well as Knox's initial hesitance to side with the rebels. I think these new plot points really add to the complexity of the story and wind up tensions in the silo. And I'm looking forward to the other new surprises that writers have in store for book readers this season. Back with Juliet, awakened by Peter Gabriel's red rain blasted over the speakers, she realizes she's being urgently called by Solo. He has a brilliant idea, and it's a firefighter suit, but again, it's at a level that is underwater. Juliet uses her engineering skills to figure out a way to retrieve the suit, but there's a catch. She can't do it alone. She tries to recruit Solo to help her dive for the submerged firefighter suit. She tries to appeal to his trauma and humanity by saying they need to save 10,000 people, but Solo's fear of leaving the vault is very apparent. And when she sees the ominous writing on the wall that says, "We will get in sooner or later," we're left wondering how much he's endured. Understanding Solo's pain and anxiety, Juliet leaves the vault to figure it out on her own. As she crosses the repaired bridge, we hear Solo shouting after her. He has actually left the vault, and it's honestly a very powerful scene. Watching Solo face his fears, shakily crossing the makeshift bridge with Juliet's help, it kind of reminded me of when the stoop kid left his stoop in Hey Arnold. If you guys are 90s kids out there, and of course I'm showing my age, but that was a classic, so let me know in the comments if you guys know what I'm talking about. But the vulnerability and just the tension of that scene, it was all there. And as he takes those hesitant steps forward, you can't help but wonder, will they both find the strength needed to keep going? But that's where we leave things this week, with a damn rebellion brewing, alliances fraying, and Juliet on a desperate quest to stop her silo from falling into the same trap as Solo's. But I'm curious about what you guys think. Is Bernard the real puppet master, or do you think there's someone higher up pulling the strings? And also, what do you guys think Solo's backstory is hiding? Is he possibly hiding a malicious past and this is just surface level BS? I mean, do you think he's really good and as innocent as he turns out to be, or could he possibly turn on Juliet later? I mean, he did tell her in the beginning if she tried to enter the vault again that he would kill her, but then since then he has been feeding her, so I don't know. What do you guys think? But as always, guys, I appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, thanks for watching.